Hey everybody, welcome to lesson number 9 of our fundamental and technical master trading class. Today we're going to deal with the issue of MT4 configurations for our day trading strategies, the strategies that we covered in chapter 8. Excuse me. Before, as always, trading foreign exchange on margin carries a high level of risk, may not be suitable for all investors. I ask you to read this disclaimer very carefully to understand all the risks associated with trading on margin. At this, you can advise from an independent financial advisor if you have any doubts. So we actually have some leftover business from chapter 8 or lesson 8. Excuse me, just one second. Oh my God, I got a frog in my throat. I got to clear this. Otherwise, I'll never be able to talk properly for the rest of the session. And we have one sort of last specific strategy in our day trading arsenal that I wanted to share with you because we just ran out of time on Saturday to deal with it. So let's discuss that first. We call this the trading session strategy, and there's basically two types of trading strategies that we offer. The first one takes the high and the low range between 4 o'clock GMT and 10 o'clock GMT. So 10 o'clock GMT is basically 10 o'clock London time, right? And it looks for the high and the low of that particular range. I'll show it to you on the chart, once we get to it. And what we try and do is we're going to sell at the high and buy at the low. And we give ourselves just 2 hours, really till about noon London, with a 15 risk and a 5 reward. Again, very negative risk skew, but it's a high probability trade. So that's a variation that some of our traders like to trade. But the one that we really trade very actively in our room, and this is the one that is a sort of a much higher probability and much deeper strategy. Same idea. But what we do is we're actually looking from the beginning of London morning to the end of London afternoon. That's, remember, London is sort of the core, the center of FX trading, right? Both because it's a juncture between Asia and North America, and because this is where most of the flow, basically 80% of the global trading flow happens between these hours, the 4 o'clock GMT to 1600 GMT. And what's interesting about that is that the highs and the lows set during that range will get tested. And usually get rejected because they're basically running stops one way or the other. So this becomes a much higher probability construct where we place a order to buy at the low and an order to sell at the high. If one triggers, we cancel the other, and we simply run with that order for minus 15 to plus 5. Now, there are a couple of very important caveats to this particular strategy. First, of course, is we don't trade in front of news. So, for example, a day like FOMC meeting like we have today is not a day we would ever set up this strategy because the FOMC meeting always takes place at around 2 o'clock New York, which is 1800 GMT. So we would never want to figure out where the highs and the lows are because generally on these kind of days, the highs and the lows are going to be made after the Fed speaks. As a matter of fact, I'm almost 100% certain that on Fed days, the highs and the lows are always going to be done afterwards. We also don't like to do the high and the low if the number is within 15 pips of the 00 level. So, for example, if we have if the high is, let's say, at 85, then we generally don't like to sell at 85 because there's a high probability they're going to try to squeeze the prices all the way to the 00 level. And conversely, if the number is at 15, we don't like to buy at the 15. We like to get out of the 00 way. So one thing that we do is if it happens in that case, we move our entries manually to 10 points below the 00 level. So if we are selling, let's say we start at 85, we don't want to sell at 85. We basically go to 110 on the price. And conversely, if we're going to be buying at 15, we don't want to buy at 15. We're going to go down to 90, and we set the structure that way. So that's it's a very, very simple strategy. It's just a 1 time per day strategy. We do it on effectively just the euro dollar the pound dollar, dollar yen, Aussie dollar, and Kiwi dollar. We do not do this on dollar CAD because the Canadian dollar is incredibly impacted by oil prices. And there's tremendous amount of oil data that comes out in US afternoon. So the Canadian dollar absolutely does not respect its highs and lows. This strategy is based upon the idea that for the most part, currency is going to really respect the day's highs and the day's lows. And we're going to take advantage of that respect by trading against those highs and against those lows. So hopefully that's a little bit clear. It's just another part of our arsenal of day trading. Let me see if there's any questions about the session strategy. Does everybody understand how that works? I see no questions, so I'm going to move on. All right? Okay. So, there's just so much dense data and information that I gave you last time we met that I thought it might be interesting and valuable for us to kind of visually see the various core bread and butter strategies that we trade, because under the belief that the picture is worth 1,000 words. Now, my apologies. I am the world's worst graphic designer. So, and I used Google Images to construct this. So it's not the prettiest picture, but I think it's still worth 1,000 words because it visually, hopefully, explains to you the basic structure of how our bread and butter setups are traded. So the first chart that I have here, or the first graph that I have here, is the Boris version of our boomer stall strategy. And as you can see, you have the OO level over here, right? And for prices, if prices rise, we sell first at the 33 level. And if it goes beyond that, if it doesn't resolve, in other words, we sell at the 33 level, our stop is minus 17. Our stop is to the 50 level. And our target is 5. So if we sell 33, it goes to 28, it resolves, we're done with the trade. We made our 5 points, move on. But if it keeps on going and it keeps rising, then we sell a second batch, same equal amount of product. So if it's 10,000, 10,000, 100,000, 100,000, 1, it's always equal amount of product, equal ratio. At the 42 level, right, with a target of 7. So in this case, the whole target would be plus 30 at 35. If it comes back down to 35, we're resolved, great. And if it just keeps on going, we stop ourselves out at the 50 level. Okay? So let me just sort of stop here. Is that clear to everybody? Is that visually clear to you on the boomer stall strategy? Somebody give me a yes or no in the box just to make sure that everybody's listening to me and you guys understand. Okay, good. Now, conversely, the shorts. The price is falling, which would be the longs, right? The boomer stall longs. Here, we buy. Price is falling through the OO level. We're buying the 62s. Again, take profit is just 5, so take profit is 67. Stop is 17, right? And then if it keeps on falling, we buy the 53s with a stop at minus 8. Our stop on the shorts is 45. And why the asymmetry? There's an asymmetrical bet here, right? We're giving ourselves 5 more points on the shorts, or on the falling prices. I'm sorry, on the longs because we're going counter trend. Then the boomer shorts. And the reason why is because, as I said, prices fall faster than they rise, and the 50 level is defended stronger on the long side than it is on the short side. In other words, the probability of the 50 getting broken and then busted back up is higher here. It's not a massively big edge. Like, let's say it, and again, this isn't fact. I'm just giving you examples, just to give you an understanding of how much of an edge it is. If 3 out of 4 times prices will stop in front of let me put it this way. If 4 out of 5 times prices will stop in front of the 50 level, right? If it was the short side, only 3 out of 4 times. So 80% of the time, prices will stop in front of the 50 level, and correct. Here, it's probably only going to be a 75% chance. Therefore, you want to give yourself that extra 5 pips movement because that allows you the chance to survive the move and then come back up many times. As a matter of fact, I think it's shocking to me actually of how many times we're able to survive the move through the 50 and then it comes back up and we're able to resolve the trade on the long side. So that's why the asymmetry between the two positions, right? Okay. So the other potential stub trade on the boomer side is above the 50 level. Here, if the price rises above the 50 level, right? It starts below and then it rises above the 50 level. We sell the 83s, we sell the 92s. The exact same structure. Take profit as 5, take profit as 7 here, and again we're defending against the 00 level. So if it hits the 00 level, we're stopped out. So there's just one little stub here on that particular structure. Okay. So now let me just sort of stop right here. Anybody have any final questions? Looks like I might have some questions here. So let me see what you're saying here on the boomer stall idea. Okay, so Zen is asking me, how do we integrate the fundamentals and economic news with all the technical strategy discussion in a webinar or the Bollinger Band? Well, the best way to integrate these technical strategies with the fundamentals is in a pre-post manner. And what I mean by this is the following. So first and foremost, you never trade this pre-news, right? Pre-news, you don't trade this. Because you don't know, right? We've gone through this. I've gone through this in all the prior lessons. You don't know. The impact of news will always destroy these defenses, right? They will always destroy the OO defense, will always destroy the OO defense to the other side. In other words, if news comes in, it's strong enough, it's intense enough, prices will just skyrocket. So it's incredibly dumb to, lay out orders ahead of news. Unless you're gambling on the idea that the news is just not going to be strong enough, and we don't try to gamble. These are high probability trades, so we're trying to be as accurate as possible, right? So the answer, the simple question is, before news, you never ever trade this, right? And literally we have a rule where 1 hour ahead of news, if none of these strategies have triggered, we just take them off the board. We clear the boards. I go completely clean and clear. So that's action number 1, right? So is that clear to you, Zan? So pre-news, fundamentally, we just step away. That's the key thing, right? Okay. Now it gets very interesting on a post-news basis, right? On a post-news basis, because on a post-news basis, there's actually quite a lot of opportunity to what I would call trade through these levels. Let me sort of give you an idea. Let's say there is super great news on, and maybe I should go back. Let's go back to the OO level, right? Let's imagine this is a euro dollar or pound dollar. Let's say there's pound dollar news, right? Let's say pound starts at around 62, right? There's super good news and the pound blows through the OO level, right? So it's now the news has been absorbed. It's trading above the OO level, right? Well, once the news has hit, then we actually love to lay out this strategy because the assumption is if the price extends post-news into this level, we actually have a very high probability that's going to resolve because it's already been, most of the good news has been factored in, and price therefore gives us a much higher probability that it's going to correct mildly. We're looking just for a mild correction for an overbought or oversold. Conversely, there's super negative news. Pound starts at the 50 level. It drops all the way to the OO level, after the news is hit, right? Let's say it's trading, it's trading 80, trading 70, so on and so forth. Well, we're more than happy to put a bid at 62 because if it starts to kind of, disintegrate towards 62, there's a very natural pop-up. You'll see this quite a lot post-news. It will come into our zones and then pop right back up. So post-news, we absolutely love to trade this. Pre-news, we stand back. Does that make sense to you, Zan? So the question is, he's asking me about um, what about the strategy using the 0 GMT to 200 GMT, which is always before UK news? Well, that's way before UK news. And remember, that strategy actually trades in the flow of the news. That strategy is momentum based, and so therefore it means that it's news very often that is taking that strategy up or taking that strategy down. So in that case, we're always we're actually always in front of that strategy because it generally is the news that takes that strategy in. But I really want to focus on the primary strategies. I've given you lots and lots of different strategies, but I wanted to focus on the ones that I think have the highest chance of making you money, which is the ones that we trade in our chat room, and how they interact dynamically to the news. That's what I really want to sort of address to you on this specific. As far as just sort of trading pre-news, you can email her. She's got sort of there are some strategies where you can just front run the news. They're guessing strategy. You're basically using fundamental data to guess whether you're correct or incorrect about your position. Sometimes it works. Sometimes it doesn't work really badly against you. You're welcome to try them. They're really interesting strategies, but they're not the kind of strategies that we trade in our day trading room. They're much more of a gambling type of strategy. No matter how much research you have, there's always a gamble that you'll be wrong in your assessment. So you have to appreciate that as far as the news aspect of it. Chen is asking me, do we go long at the 50 level? No. Why is this not clear? On the 50 level, let me just sort of go back here. The price is moving through the 50. It goes above 50, and we're only going short here at the 83, and we're going short here at 92. It's just a continuation of the boomer level. So I think this might be easier for you, and just and hold your question, Chen. It might be easier for you in the slide after this one. Let me just share with you the single most profitable strategy that we have been doing. This is just literally has not had a stop. In I think like the last 20 instances of me trading this thing. It's been very, very, very good and very accurate. This is actually sort of, this is what I call our trend strategy, right? And here's the strategy. This is what we call the boomer pullback. Here, what we're looking for is prices is coming down, right? Prices is falling. It's falling. And it pierces the 00 level. And then it just bounces back up to the 03 level. As soon as it pierces the 00 level, we put out a sell order at 03, right? With a target of +5. So if it goes to 98, we've made our money. And the stop is -17 against, again, the hard stop in all of this is 20 level on the upside. Then in case it keeps on going up, we added the 12 level and then try to resolve the whole thing at the 05 level. At the 05 level, we resolve the whole thing again for +5, right? Now, conversely, if the price is rising and bursts its way through the 00 level, we buy at 97. And if it continues to go against us, we buy one more time at the 89 level. 97 will resolve at the 02 level. The 89 position will resolve at the 95 level, right? And the boomer pullback. So this is, in the boomer stall strategy, we're selling against price. Here, we're going with the price. Here, we're basically just seeing the big price movement, and all we're doing is just sort of trying to get in on the retrace. So any small retrace, we're trying to get into a position for a second test of the 00 level, right? We're always looking for the second test of the 00 level. So that's the boomer pullback. Let me just sort of stop here and make sure everybody understands the boomer pullback, right? Is that clear to everybody? Somebody give me a yes on the boomer pullback. I don't see any yeses. Is everybody listening to me? Somebody give me a yes. Is that clear? Okay. And Zan is just asking me, is there any strategy that can be used to trade in the Asia session? Zan, the best strategies in Asia session, in my opinion, is the boomer stall, the one that I just showed you earlier. So let's just and this goes to you, Chan. Let's look at all of this stuff combined, right? This gives you a very, very good idea of all the possible ways we can day trade this whole 100-point field in the currency movement during the day. So let's imagine, just for argument's sake, that euro dollar, pound dollar, dollar yen, Aussie dollar, Kiwi dollar, right? All the major currencies that we trade this in, they're going to move approximately 100 points on an average day, right? And this is, and you know, the 00 level would be our crossing field, right? If you think about this as a soccer field, or you think about this as an American football field, what this means is that we have lots and lots of opportunities to enter into trades across the price movement that is happening during the day, right? Now, I'll be the first one to tell you that about half of these price opportunities don't ever materialize. The reason why is because news comes in, and you know we don't trade in front of news. So a lot of these, you know, if you were to sort of count this, you have one trade here, one trade here, one trade here, right? So you have two boomer stall shorts above the 00, one pullback short above the 00. Then you have one pullback long below the 00 and one boomer stall long below the 00. So overall, you have like five potential trades across 100 points of movement, and you can multiply that by 5 currency pairs. So you presumably, in an idealistic world, have 25 possible trade combinations every single day to day trade, right? That's idealism. In reality, of course, we're probably going to only have, instead of 25, more like 7, maybe 8. But that's still extremely good, because this is the thing. Once we get rid of all the news, possibilities and all of the movements that surround that, what we're able to do then is cherry pick the absolute best moments in the 24 hours of the daily cycle and come in and come out of the market during that time. And if we can place 8, 9 trades a day in the highest possible probability, in the best possible quality of risk trades, then we have a chance here to maybe make, 8 times 5, 40 points, 50 points a day. That's huge. That's massive on a long-term basis with very, very controlled risk, because the risk on any one of these trades is only 25 pips, which means that even if you get stopped out, you can make the money back within the same day. And that's quite attractive. So this is the broad layout of all the trades that are possible given the boomer setup, right? Chen is asking a great question. He's saying, can we recycle this? And my answer is no. I don't recycle it. I don't tempt fate twice. I don't tempt it 3 times. But that doesn't mean that there's a lot of people in my room that do. Here's the honest truth. On days when the market is slow, like for example, right now today, which is an FOMC day, it's going to be a very, very slow day before the big event, right? And sometimes, when there's nothing much going on in the market, we have slow. Markets generally, what do markets oscillate between? They oscillate between very heavy, large volume, large volatility days, and then usually very quiet volatility days. So the answer to you is, on a quiet volatility day, it's very productive and very, very profitable to recycle. Yes. But the big question is, you have to be convinced that a day is a quiet volatility day. That's the art of the matter. Now, I simply don't recycle because I don't take that risk. But it doesn't mean that I don't think it's a good risk, and I don't think that it's a decent risk to take, as long as you develop a sense of when the markets are generally going to be quiet versus when they're going to be volatile. It is definitely a very bad idea to recycle any of these trades during highly volatile markets. And if I was going to sort of fixate myself, if I was going to just focus myself on one single thing, I would recycle only the boomer pullback strategies, okay? Because those are, I think, have the highest probability. Those are with trend strategies, and you probably have the highest probability of recycling them a couple of times should they occur. But that's about it. So hopefully that answers your question. Okay. All right. So we're done with the questions, and I think what I want to do now, before we get to MT4 and configuration, oh, I'm sorry. There's one last chart that I really wanted to share with you. Yes. And guys, I hope you guys, you don't mind. We're probably going to go, as always, a little bit over our time. I hope you guys hang out with me because it'll certainly be worth it. But I really want to be very, very thorough in this particular session to make sure that everybody really gets everything that I can teach you in step-by-step fashion. So, bear with me if we go a little bit over time. So the last slide I want to show you is one that I don't necessarily trade myself because remember, I like very, very quick profits and short targets, right? But
this is a sound test.
Oh, sorry. But this is sort of the classic boomer strategy that many people in my room trade. If you're looking to try to trade for more like a 10 pip profit, 9 pip profit per strategy. So in this particular variation, right, there's only two trades. There is the below the, all of them have to do with moving up above the 00 or moving up below the 0. There's no trade above the 50 level, right? In this particular strategy, if the price goes to 40, you sell, and then if it goes to 45, you sell again. And your total stop here is not the 50 level, it's actually the 60 level. You give yourself a little more breathing room. You give yourself a little more time to survive the stop. And the target here on the first trade is 9. The target on the second trade is +7, which makes on the whole trade +9. This is a shorter distance between the first entry and the second entry. It's only a 5-point distance because you're just basically looking to see if you could front weight your position and resolve it quickly. It's a front weighted position and resolve it quickly. Similar on this situation, you buy to 60, you buy to 55s, and you give yourself all the way down to 40, in order for it to resolve, and then you go for 9.9. So that's the boomer stall classic version for those of you that want to trade that. And I will show you how to configure that as well as the other one in the MT4. So is that clear? Just so that somebody give me a yes on that before we move on to the charts, and I just want to show you a few charts. Okay. So let's go to the charts here, and I'm literally going to. I've not looked at these charts. I'm going to look at them blind with you because I just want to show you how we would. Blindly trade. First of all, I just want to make sure you guys you should be seeing the Aussie dollar chart here. I'm going to change that obviously to like another currency pair. And I'm going to go to like a 5-minute, 5-day structure. Everybody seeing the Aussie dollar chart here? Somebody give me a yes? Okay, excellent. Thank you, Chen. Okay, just want to make sure that we're in sync here. Okay, so let's go. Let's just start with the. You know what? Let's start with the dollar yen. Dollar yen has been a very interesting pair, so that's a really great pair for us to look at. So here's dollar yen, right? And let's kind of chart trade our various setups that we have in mind. Okay. So here I am on dollar yen, right? So first and foremost, and I'm just going to start at a random entry here at 1220, right? So what's going on here? Dollar yen is falling, right? It's falling all the way down, all the way from certainly the 1550 level, falling hard, and it's breaking. I'm just going to show this to you visually, obviously. The 1500 level, right? It's breaking the 1500 level. It is triggering our boomer pullback strategy, right? And you can see here, here's the display data. It's going to show you all the prices in this particular candle. So it drops from 1510 all the way to 1484, right? We then lay out an order at 1503. 1503. That's our first thing. Once it drops to the 1500, we sell 1503s. It bounces back up to 1507. So we're done on our 1503, right? And our target is 1498, right? So on the next candle, the low, I believe, on this one, is 1497, and we're done. It's a 5-minute trade. Generally, these are like 5, 10, 15-minute trades. One of the things I love about the boomer pullback is that they tend to be very, very fast. Now, somebody asked me about recycling. In this particular case, when we're at the end of U.S. session, right, at the end of the U.S. session, right, and it's a relatively low volatility, day, it's not a bad idea to recycle. So, Chen, here you go. So, I sell it, I buy it back. It goes back up above, the 1500 level, back up above the 1500 level. And I can say, okay, I'm going to sell, another batch here, 1503, and the next one will be 1512, right? So 1503, 1512, and it comes back down. I resolve at 1505. Resolved. Great. Boom. So 2 trades made. Now it drops again through the 1500, and I sell again at 1503, and it goes at 1507, and it drops back down. Maybe not quite. Let's just say it doesn't quite make spread because let's say the spreads are really bad for us, and we have to wait until Asia comes online, and then it makes the trade again, right? So generally, you have in these quiet times 2 or 3 opportunities. Now, here's the danger of the recycle that I wanted to just point out to you. So the danger of the recycle is that you get too cute with this thing, right? And actually, you may have been able to survive it. In this particular case, it goes up to 1506. Right? This is 8 o'clock New York time in the evening, which is 8 o'clock Tokyo. So already now everybody is back in Asia. Everybody's watching their screens. So you now have a much more liquid market. And I don't recommend trying to get too cute with this. You've already made three times your recycle, right? But you could say, okay, I'm going to get brave, and I'm going to sell the 1503s again. You sell it over here, and you just make the 5 points on the next dip forward. But if you didn't make it, right, the price would have gone up, right? You would have sold the 12s, and then, and this is the heartbreaking part here, you would have just gotten stopped out at 1520, and eventually, by around 11 o'clock Tokyo morning, it would have resolved for you. And this is the reason why I don't recycle too much, because you're gonna press your luck. But if you're gonna press your luck at any time, it's always best to do it in the late New York afternoon when nothing much is going on, right? So I think that's a great example. I just completely organically didn't even realize this chart. As I said, I'm trading blind with you guys because I just want to show you just as with fresh eyes, just as though, because I've never seen this price action, how it would work, just so you guys could get an idea of how it would work in real live trading. So trading in my way, you would have just made 1 trade. Trading it in a recycle way, you would have made actually 3 trades, and if you pressed your luck, you would have made 4 trades. You would have made 20 points in a period of 3 or 4 hours in a very, very controlled risk fashion, right? So hopefully that's clear to you, Chen. Does that make sense to you on the recycle part, right? Okay. All right, good. So now we're back in business. Price rises above the 00 level, right? And now we're looking for any kind of boom or stall possibilities. So here we go. So we're now late Asia, and somebody was asking me, I think it was maybe it was Zhang was asking me, what's the best strategy? Why, what do I like to trade in Asia? I love to trade stall in Asia because look what happens in Asia. So we get to 33 right over here, right? And it resolves almost within 5 minutes, comes down to 55. But let's just say I'm gonna make it a little harder for myself. I'm gonna say maybe this 33 is not a real 33. Maybe the spreads weren't there. Maybe I didn't quite. Maybe it was only 32.8. I never got into the trade, right? So great. I never got into the trade. I still hold on to the position. Certainly, I get into the trade when it's 15.35. I'm in the trade, right? It goes up to a high of 39, and then drops like a stone again. And again, I resolve myself. So even if I didn't get in on this candle, I would have been able to get in on this candle, and I would have been able to resolve, and I'm done with the trade. And that's a classic boomer stall during Asia afternoon when you get a lot of these kind of mild rallies, but the 1550 defense remains very, very strong. Okay, is that pretty clear to you? To Zan, is that pretty clear to you of some of the ways that I would consider trading Asia on a boomer basis? Okay, so let's just go one more. Let's just gonna go. What's happening here? So we're looking. Boom! It drops again. Into the 1500 level, and we sell the 1503s. It goes 1506, right? It goes up a little bit against us, maybe 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes go by, and then it drops all the way down to 96. We're 98 bid, so we plenty of room for us. Boom, we're done. Another good trade banked, right? So we can go back and forth. So now that's done, and now we can look again, and now it rises to 1533 in sort of late morning New York time. We sell the 33s, and it gets resolved down to 25, right? You see how just in one single particular currency pair, by watching the price action, by watching how it rotates around the playing field here, right? And by picking your spots and by having the right trading structure, you've just basically, made, 30, 40 points in a matter of 12 hours by being very, very precise in your entries and your exits, right? So, I much as I love to go with you through so many charts, and maybe on Saturday I'll be happy to look through more charts for you guys if you guys want to. I gotta stop now because I want to talk to you about how to set up the whole MT4 parameters, and that's very, very important. So let's just now log out of my chart VPS and go into my my MT4 VPS, and I actually downloaded. Let me see if I can. Let me just make sure you guys you're visible. Okay, does everybody see the MT4 environment? Mario is asking me. So there are 5 currency pairs. This is all included in lesson 7. It's in the PDF lesson 7. Euro dollar, pound dollar, dollar yen, Aussie dollar, Kiwi dollar. Those are the 5 currency pairs that I would trade this with. Okay, as far as these strategies go, we really want to make sure that we trade it with the most active currency pairs. So this is my real account, but I downloaded a demo in here just so that we could bang away at a demo and I could show you how to configure all of these things, right? So the EA that runs, that is the brains of this whole operation, is called Boomer, and as you can see, we continuously keep working on it. It's version 23.3. And we're actually going to come out with a brand new version that's going to be super cool because it's going to allow you to automatically preset the OO breaks. Right now, we have to watch the screens and actually manually lay out orders against the OO breaks. But this will be smart enough to know when the price crosses the OO to lay out those orders and automatically go into the boomer pullback strategy. But anyways, for now, let's just see what this EA does on a simple basis. Everybody sees the EA, right? Just want to make sure somebody give me a yes. Okay. So the Boomer EA is part of your fee. I'm giving it to you for free. I'm going to actually upload it into the place where into our folder where we have all of the PDF files. After every single lesson, we have the PDF files, right? So the PDF that has the instructional manual for this and the actual EA will be uploaded into that file after the lesson today. Okay, so you'll be getting this as part of your deal. So that's very, very cool. All right, let's just fool around. Let's go to Eurodollar. Okay, let's just go to Eurodollar. Let's just see how we can configure this whole thing. And I'm going to lay down the Boomer EA. It's actually on there already, but let's just I'm laying it down. Okay. And I'll go through various parameters of this stuff, and I'll be honest with you, I'm not going to go through everything. I'm just going to go through the key settings necessary for the particular setups that I've showed you. There is a PDF that I will include that gives you all the various descriptions of all the various settings. This is a very, very complex EA. And furthermore, guys, we're coming out with a brand new version that's going to simplify a lot of the stuff. As part of your fee, all the upgrades are going to be free on this particular EA. So I will email you with a brand new version. But for now, let's just say I want to set up, first of all, lot size. Lot size is by definition set to the smallest size, but you can make it, you can make it 1.0. I can trade whatever I want. I can trade large lot size, small. So this is a demo account, so I'm going to trade large size, right? So price one, price two basically tells you that you can set two levels. Let's say I want to set a boomer short. So let's just look at where we are at the. Oops, sorry, bear with me. I want to bring this down. So the quote on Eurodollar right now is 106.58, right? According to our strategy, if the price goes to 106.83, we want to sell, and if the price drops all the way down to below the 106 level to 105.62, we want to buy, right? Okay. So we're setting these two levels. And by the way, there is no order. You can go in different order. You can put 105.62 on price one. It doesn't matter. The EA is very flexible. You don't have to put it in any kind of an order, right? You have to put it in any kind of an order, right? All of this stuff is left alone. The distance to entry, the limit order, enable market orders, all that stuff is set to false, okay? So now we get into lot multipliers. We're only going to go to two levels in our structure, right? This EA has the potential to go to 5, 6 levels and provide any kind of multiplication on each particular level. But in our particular case, we're only going to go to 2 levels, which is multiplier 1, right? So we just leave the multiplier at 1. And our take profit, and I'm going to first show you the classic configuration. The classic configuration, right? The classic configuration looks for a 9.0 target on the first one, and our stop loss on the classic configuration is, I'm sorry. You know what? Come back. I'm giving you the settings for Boris's version. So if we're going to use Boris's version, then I'm going to give you Boris's settings. So the stop here would be 17, right? Stop here with 17, and the take profit would be 5.0 on my first level, and 7.0 on my second level. Okay, and let me just go backwards here. There's number of levels is going to be 2. I'm only going to do 2 levels, and the distance between levels is going to be 9, right? So all of these settings, and I'm happy to, I'll save this as a template for you. I'll save it as a Boris template for you, and I'll upload it into the folder, and you can literally attach this template with the exact same settings, except the only thing I'm going to do is I'm going to set the lot value to the smallest possible size, so that you don't by mistake trade a very big time, and then you yourself can change this value to whatever you want it to, right? But I'll set the settings. The point being is, I can lay this out like this, right? And just say okay, and it's waiting for the next tick. And now look what happened. Now the EA has laid out these pending orders. And it's basically saying, well, if the price goes up to 106.83, I'm going to be seller. The moment the price is triggered 106.83, this order, 105.62, is going to automatically cancel itself out. And the moment the price goes to 106.83 and we get into a trade, it will automatically lay out a second trade at 106.92. Okay? It will automatically lay out that second trade. And then if the trade gets take profits at 106.78, then the 106.92 will get canceled automatically too. The EA does all the inventory management for you automatically, right? You can test it completely, right? So that's the Boris version of the Boomer stall version, right? Now the classic version, and this is basically sort of so you understand, what does this match up to? This matches up to effectively this, this structure. Let me just go into here so you guys can see this. It matches up to just what I did is I inputted into the EA these particular settings, right? Okay. Now, how about I input these particular settings? How do we input these particular settings into the EA? The Boomer Classic ones, right? Hit escape. let's go back to my EA. And I'll just, I'll cancel this out. I'll just hit this out. Now, I got rid of my these particular orders, and now I'm gonna set up the classic version. So first, I'm gonna lay down my EA as usual. Say yes, and now, so we're gonna use just a little bit different orders. It's 106. In this case, we're looking to sell the 40s. So the next level will be 107.40, right? And it would be 105.60. These are obviously wider levels because this is the classic structure. I go back down over here. My stop now is 20, not 17, but 20, right? And my take profit on the first one would be 9.0. And by the way, this EA is so smart and so configurable. You can make it 9.2. It can go in 1/10 of a pip. If you make it 1/10 of a pip, you can do it. You have the flexibility. It's all in the manual that you can see. And my second will be 7-point targets. My number of levels that I'm gonna lay out. This particular line controls how many pending orders will go out. Right. This will basically tell you, well, if you wanted to, for example, sell 33, sell 43, sell 53, sell 63. You want to go 4 levels, then you would just set this to 4, and it would do it for you. So the point is that, of course, I'm controlling my risk. I don't want to, sell too much, and therefore I'm going to not do this. Now the distance between levels is just 5, because remember in my original Boomer Stall Classic, it's 40-45. So I'm just doing a distance between levels at 5, right? And by the way, this EA is so flexible that if you really want to go crazy and you want to say, well, I want to sell 40, 45, then I want to sell like 52, then you could say, well, if you want to add 2 more, you would say, two. You would add 2 to your 5 because 52 would be 7, right? So you would add 2 to your offset value. If you wanted to, let's say, sell the next order, if you wanted to give it tighter, you wanted to sell 40, 45, and then 48, just because you wanted to just really bunch up your sell orders, you set the offset interval to -2, right? And that would mean that it would sell 3 points away from this particular interval. Basically, this is the fixed amount of pips it's going to sell in between, and then you can configure every single level in any which way you want. So very, very complex and very useful. And I think that's it. And then we just simply say okay. Right, now it lays out those 2 orders, and it simply works its magic, right? Now, this EA can do all sorts of things. One of the things it can do is we can do our Boomer structure, that is, like my inventory management structure, with a market order. Let's say I'm bullish. Euro-dollar right now. I think it's a buy, right? And I want to do it. In a market format. Now, I already have a template configured for it. So I already set it up. But just to show you how the template is configured, what it does is we don't put any price levels over here. All we do is we set the enable market orders to true value, okay? And we already have our 17, our 5, and our 7 take profits. Everything is all included, right? So all we have to do, let's say I'm bullish, euros at this point. I go into this particular order line called order line, and I say buy at market. Say okay, and boom, it just bought at market, right? Ooh, and now it laid out. You see how it laid out a secondary order. Now it's instantaneously saying, okay, I bought this at market. I have a target of 62, but if it comes back and slips down to 48, I'm going to buy more, right? And now it's buying more, right? And so you can use this EA to just come in market if you wanted to. It's incredibly flexible. And of course, the market, you can configure all the inventory management of this stuff to your own liking. It's very, very flexible. It has enormous amount of capabilities, from just from the ones that I showed you, and obviously it can do a million different things. So I'm just I'm going to close this out. because I don't care. The other thing is the EA will give you a pop-up alert telling you how much money you made or lost in that particular trade as soon as the trade is executed. Another very nice feature. The pop-up alert is just for informational purposes only. It doesn't really matter. It's not going to interfere with any further trades that you want to do. Some of you may think that. Let me see if there's any questions here. Okay, so no questions so far. Okay, all right, good. So the last configuration that I wanted to show you, is the OO cross. So let me just see if there's any currency pair that's even remotely. Let's just say, okay, I don't believe this, but let's just say we think that dollar yen cross below it rose to 115. We're bullish. Okay, see, it rose to 115 over here, and we want to buy the 97s, and we want in the anticipation that it's going to go back up, right? So one of the things that I showed you is that you could actually literally use the boomer configuration and come in at market, right? And so what I just did right now is I bought not exactly the right price. I should, the classic price is 97, but close enough. I bought this, and if it rallies back up towards the 00 level in an uptrend, I will be able to make money. But we all know that that's probably, it may work. I mean, whatever, it doesn't matter. We'll just whoop. We'll take my profit. See, I took a quick profit here. We made 3 points on the run. You see how nicely it ran. But if we were to do this properly, let's imagine that it actually dropped like a stone through the 115s. It's actually in a downtrend. And the proper thing to do is to lay down a sell order at 115.03. And so if we lay down our order at 115.03, right? We don't have to we can leave the second one blank. It doesn't matter. We just simply can lay down one price, right? This will now lay out an offer at 115.03. If the thing rallies to 15.03, it will sell it. And if it continues to rally to 15.12, it will sell it again. And it will use this inventory management technique to basically bang in and take in pips. So the EA, incredibly flexible. It can do a million different things. One last thing that it can do that I haven't showed you is what we call our sessions strategy, right? And our session strategy is that this EA is actually time sensitive as well, right? So remember I told you that we can set up a time. So let me just sort of do this with you guys. Let me lay this down here. There's a whole component of this EA that will literally trigger based upon the time specification for the range. So in this particular case, I'm going to set the range to true, meaning, yes, I want you to use time settings to set up buy and sell orders based upon the highs and the lows of the range, right? So right now it is, what time is it now? 10:56. So that's it's 11 plus 5. What's 11 plus 5? It's 1600 GMT. This is all in GMT time. Everything you put in here is just simply in GMT time. So right now it's 15:56. So let's say it's 1558. I'm going to give myself an extra minute. 58 minutes of GMT time, right? I'm going to lay this out here right now and just say okay. And in about 2 minutes. In about 2 minutes, when it goes to 10:58 on my time frame, or 15:58, what this is going to do is it's going to lay out whatever is the high of the whole day's range, and it's going to put a sell order at the high, put a buy order at the low, and just hold those trades, with a stop and a profit. I had forgotten to lay down the stop and the profit, so I'll show you how to do this. But let me just sort of show you how it's time sensitive as well. It can do time release trades, which is very, very valuable for those of you that may want to trade around particular time frames and particular time ranges. I just want to give it a sec. We'll just give it that full minute to trigger. We're almost there. We're like 10 seconds away. It looks to me that the high should be around 1533, somewhere there, and the low is 1477. So let's see if that comes in somewhere around there. Yeah, pretty close. 1477 as the low, and I guess the high was the 1533 was set yesterday in in late U.S. trading, Asia trading. So from midnight New York time, this was the high. So you see how, and it will do this for every single currency pair you give it to. It will do it. And actually, I see that I see the stop loss is what? It's a 40-point stop loss because it has a default stop loss in there, and a 10-point target. So it has a 40-point stop loss. It's just the default. I forgot to set the stop loss target. You can set the stop loss targets any way you like. But this is just the final aspect of this particular EA that you guys can explore. So I will kill this, and that's it. So this is the Boomer EA, a very, very powerful piece of software, very, very cool. If you've never done it, I certainly recommend you do this in a demo mode and just literally kill it. You run 100 different trades, see how it works, get a good feel. It's really, really important to get a good feel in a demo environment of how it executes, what particular structures you want to use, and then when you do it in live environment, do it in a very small, anything, whatever you like to trade it in. I would do at minimum half your normal size, but maybe as little as 1/10 your normal size, the first 5 or 6 trades, just to see how comfortable you are with the execution. But you'll see that what's beautiful about this is it's especially in fast markets where it's impossible to lay down the order so quickly, or because you're walking away from the screen and you're really not paying attention. This EA is an incredible inventory management machine. That's really what it is. It's basically an inventory management machine. Looks like we're getting a little bit of rally here in dollar yen. I should have stayed long that 1400, right? So what should we do? Should we trade with trend, or what should we do on our final trade here? Should we do trend or counter trend? Let's do counter trend, just because I feel like selling at the market. And let's see what happens with us. And let's see if this comes in for us. Maybe not. Maybe this thing is going to run hard. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this. If you have any questions, now is the time for you to ask me. I will upload this. It cannot be installed on an iPad. No. MT4 is a Windows only environment. See, look at I faded. I'm going to close my trade right now, just because I'm for 1.6 pips, and finish up positive on my balance for the day, just because I wanted to show you that I could finish up positive. Anyways, can it be installed on the iPad? No, it's a Windows only environment. I am right now broadcasting to you in a Mac, but what you're seeing here is my virtual private server. I've logged into my Windows environment. This is how almost everybody, if you want to do this seriously, you either rent or you get it for free. There are certain brokers that will literally, if you drop $5,000 into the account, $10,000 into the account, they'll give it to you for free. These are called VPSs, and this is basically an account in the sky that is a Windows-based account into which you can install MT4. You can install, any other Windows-based software, and you log in. And I'm logged in via my Mac into a Windows environment. And that's how I run all my stuff. And the advantage of it is not only that it's a Windows environment, but that it's a 24-hour permanent environment. If you look at my, into my regular, accounts, they're running 24 hours a day in this environment. See, I told you I should have held my short, right? It was a good short. Okay. All right. So final questions, guys. Anything else on your mind? Final thoughts, final questions. We'll, if you think of stuff, certainly we'll have plenty of time to do final Q&A on our last session, where we're going to try and tie everything up together. But hopefully this gives you a good flavor and understanding of the capability and the intelligence that we've kind of tried to build into our systems. And I like to refer to this as my assistant. It's not my robot. It's not there to replace me, but it's an incredibly valuable assistant to help me trade. That's really what we try to create. We try to create really valuable assistants to help you trade, and you guys get to have it as part of your package. Okay? So that's it. Looks like I have no more questions. Everybody's good. Let me see if there's anything else. Any more questions? No? All right, great. So I will, as always, put this up in video in about an hour, email you everything, upload the EA, upload the PDFs to the EA, and feel free to bang it around and enjoy it, okay? Thank you so much for hanging out with me. I hope you guys enjoyed this. I will see you guys on Saturday for our final session.